Hi, good evening, everyone. Have you thought about pivoting in this current state of economy, in this current state of uh, COVID-19, where you could be going through some really tough times at the moment, or times of uncertainty, maybe, right? So a lot of people out there have already, if not, will be losing their jobs. A lot of businesses would have, or maybe would be actually going into really, really tough times. Why? Because of this social distancing that is really happening, not just in here in where we are at our country, but around the world actually. COVID-19 at the moment, is it really stabilized yet? Well, people are talking about a second wave and third wave, but the truth is nobody really knows, right? But so how do you go about doing this, right? And what is pivot in the first place? So I'd like to cover that with you and give you 5 tips of how you can get going or get started to pivot and to get the ball rolling for you, right? My name is Eugene, and I hope that today's podcast will be able to help you get started or start you on your journey. Okay, so the 5 tips, I'll start with the first one. So the first thing is, don't jump into the very first thing that you see, right? Most of the time, a pivot actually takes quite a lot of resources. Okay, what do I mean by that? And it may not only be monetary terms, but it also may be mentally, okay, emotionally, but also, just the way you've been doing things. Why do I say that, right? Just remember the first time when you were looking for a job, when you first started the job that you've had now, you'd have this period of time where you prepared, or when you got in there and you begin to look at things and scout around and got used to the working environment. If you were in business, you would have planned, thought through, did some testing, looked at stuff before actually going straight on to get that business started. So similarly, a pivot, when you're looking at pivoting, you got to really go through that process, the same process that you did when you found your job or when you started your business. Okay, so don't get into everything just yet when you see it. Currently, there's a lot of seminars online. There's a lot of summits going on that a lot of gurus are coming in here, and with the best of their hearts, they're trying to give you opportunities or solutions of what they know and what they have done to give them an income. However, we must remember that they didn't get there overnight. So they actually had that time to scale, that time to grow, that time to learn about the industry that they're in, right? So don't jump into everything or anything, instantly when you hear it, but maybe give yourself some time to now go through the process of selection, all right? Okay, so number 2, it's go digital, right? So if you have not gone digital, maybe you were afraid of it, maybe you were just too busy doing your day-to-day at work or in business, and business was good and your job was stable and you didn't really have to think about that, and social media was just social. Maybe now is a great time to begin to look into going digital. Why? Because again, more people are spending time online, actually six times more than before COVID-19, right? Or 6-fold more actually before COVID-19. And if you're not online and if you're not there, then you're actually missing out. Why? Because less people are going out to the shopping malls and less people are going to the restaurants or getting out onto the streets to be able to see what's going on, but they spend most of the time either on their telephone or on their iPads or their tablets or their computers, and they're actually consuming information, consuming advertisements and promotions online. So if you're not online, that's the second thing that you should really consider getting on. You may not know very much about it, but start to get to know it, and I'm sure you'll be able to find lots of resources out there that can give you an idea of how you can go online within your industry. All right, the third thing that you can actually do is actually get creative with what you've already got, right? And maybe now you're in manufacturing and the products that you're manufacturing now are not products that actually would be viable if people were not going to malls and things like that. Let me give you an example. I've got a friend who actually does events and printing and preparation for promotional events and stuff like that. And so he's got this, factory where they do a lot of large banner printing, sticker printing, and shop decal printings and stuff like that. So what they've done during this period where social distancing is a really huge thing here in Malaysia, so what he has done is he's pivoted his business to focus, instead of printing banners and glass stickers for businesses, he's now focusing purely on doing social distancing signs for restaurants that are kept open, stickers that allow people to have that gap into supermarkets that they stick on the tiles, table stickers that mark an X for people to have that distance with each other, and stuff like that. And so he has moved his business significantly where the business is, but in terms of his core competency, he was doing printing anyway. So now it's moving from banners and from decals into stickers that they stick. Maybe the material is a little bit different, but it's still within their scope. So they've just moved laterally within the business that they do, right? So why is that good? Because it's quicker, and because you've already got the skills of doing it, and the turnaround time to make that pivot or the change is actually much faster than starting something brand new. So I see this friend of mine actually sending out information online through groups, through chats and stuff like that, inviting people who have businesses, or if we knew people who had businesses or offices that are now beginning to open back, to order these stickers from them. So that's an example that I can give you. All right. So make sure you look through carefully within your business scope to see if there were things that you can now augment and pivot into areas where it will be within still your scope that you're doing. Okay, so the fourth thing that I'd like to talk to you about is, look at the pivot that you are thinking about and you're excited about right now, whether it actually bring about a greater good for a large number of audience or for the national cause, right? So why is that so? Because if you're doing something that is helping people, the more people you can help with the pivot that you do, the better your chances are of having this pivot actually make an income or do well for you, right? So if your scope of what your pivot that you're thinking about is actually very tiny, okay, very small, then it may be very difficult. So have a think about that, right? So the more people you can help with the pivot that you do, the bigger your audience size is, and the bigger the opportunity that you have. Okay, the fifth tip would be not a physical one, but one that is very much mental, and that's to know that in every person's journey, pivoting is not something reserved for a time like this when there's a pandemic, but pivots happen in everyone's journey, whether you're an employee, whether you are a business person. Pivot actually do happen from time to time, and that's to make sure that you're answering to the market's demand, or where you are at that point in life, right? So pivot is not something that will debilitate you. Pivot is not something, this kind of a time is not to cripple you, but actually it is something that you've probably been through before, okay? And if you begin to look at it as something not such a grief, debilitating thing at this moment in time, that you can go through it, and that if you are looking at it's something that's quite natural in any business, right? So if a product line begins to fail, you got to pivot, right? So if you have had, if you were selling, cake of some sort and wasn't working, then you've already got the raw materials, eggs and flour and sugar and all that. Then you can turn it around and make a different kind of thing that the market wants, right? So if you are currently in this situation, to be in this fear of the market at the moment, maybe look at these 5 tips that I've just given you. And with these tips, I hope that you can begin your journey to make that shift, that pivot. And remember the five areas would be: number 1, don't jump directly into something or anything quickly, but begin that whole process. Get started quickly, but don't jump into it that quickly, because that you still need that process of getting started and making sure that you're putting in the right amount of resource into it before you get started. Okay. Number 2, make sure you're thinking digital. Digitalization is something very important. Information is loads, okay, in the internet. Just go and Google it. You'll find areas where you can digitalize your business. All right. Number 3, okay, look within your current business at the moment, to pivot in a lateral manner, okay, so that you'll be able to move faster, and you already have the core competency and also the resources within that to get started quickly. All right. So number 4, is the pivot that you do going to address a need of many people or the nation, the entire nation? If you are, like those guys in my previous video, I talk about some of my friends who got into the PPE, or those sanitizer kind of equipment, or dispensers, or the sanitizers themselves. Now they are doing really well at the moment, and they will continue to do well. Why? Because this has been reinculcated and reinforced actually to the entire nation, that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Wash your hands with soap, sanitize, all right, wear your mask, okay, and if you're going to wash your hands for 20 seconds that often, then maybe things like lotion or hand cream and things like that will also do quite well, right? So make sure that the current pivot that you're looking at will serve a lot of people. And number 5, pivots are quite a natural thing, right? So don't get debilitated or too afraid by it, but move step by step and take these 5 steps and get yourself starting in your journey to pivot. All right, this is Eugene here, sharing with you some tips on this period of time to pivot, and I hope you will learn something from here. Thank you so much for listening in and tuning in. See you later. Bye.